This is Force 13 Live, entering our 5th hour of coverage on Hurricane Harvey. My name is Nathan Foy. I'm joined by the Skype team again for this hour, consisting of Craig, Marcel and David. As you saw at the top of the hour, we have upgraded Harvey again to 100 miles per hour. That is not official, but we have upgraded the storm to a Category 2 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. It's still 85 miles per hour officially, according to the National Hurricane Center, but they're waiting for more information from the recon planes. Due to the deepening of the eye in the last hour or two, a remarkable deepening of the eye. At the start of the hour, the eye temperature was in the minus 50s. Right now, it's minus 17. And that would usually denote a storm of Category 2. And I would say that our current projection, our current intensity is actually a little bit conservative. Let's bring in the Skype team. Craig, let's start with you. Do you agree with this?
Category 2, yes.
And also something very interesting that we're continuing to monitor. In the last hour, this storm has moved quite fast, actually, I believe. According to the satellite imagery, it's moved 37 miles to the west and almost due west as well. It's now 196 miles, I think it was, from Brownsville. 195 miles east-southeast of Brownsville at this hour, 269 miles southeast of Corpus Christi, 308 miles south of Galveston. Unofficial, but we're calling it a Category 2 at this time. The International Space Station will be passing over Hurricane Harvey in about 15 minutes or less. We will bring you that when it happens. In the meantime, we've got a few minutes here to chat, and David, what are you showing us there? One moment. Let's get it on the screen. What's this? Okay.
Yep, that's me. I'm live. Okay, National Weather Service, Austin, San Antonio.
Okay. Well, there's
tornadoes, flooding, rainfall, winds. Flooding rain is number 1, wind factor number 2, tornado number 3.
As you can see, they're pretty confident about that forecast, but extreme south central Texas for rainfall, and that's going to be the case pretty much all around.
And the tornado threat, I think historical information shows it's on the eastern or east-northeastern side. I don't know the last system that impacted this area, but it's the northeastern. But flooding rain, well, we're saying isolated pockets of 35 inches. It's going to go higher. Could we see pockets of 40?
Oh, let's not. But
I know I'm speculating, but
well, it's not out of the realms of possibility. Neither is a Category 4 storm making landfall. Not out of the realms of possibility. True. Unlikely, however. You know, it's a frightening thought, and those people along the coast who don't have very sturdy buildings need to evacuate without question. Those people, even with sturdy buildings, who appear to be in the landfall zone. I know we're saying that the storm appears to be moving west at the moment, but that could change back to the northwest at any time and go back to the National Hurricane Center's forecast track, which is there, by the way. Expected to move towards the northwest, making landfall sort of near the Corpus Christi area, it would appear, as a major hurricane with winds of 120 miles per hour after a peak of 125. I believe we've got the International Space Station feed right now. Looks like this. It appears that there is a landmass coming up. I'm not sure where exactly it is, but it's about 10 minutes away from reaching Hurricane Harvey, and we will get a prime view, hopefully, of that. In the meantime, Craig, don't know if there's anything you want to discuss here.
Not much. Recon's not doing anything at the minute.
Yeah, Recon, they've taken off now, have they?
Yes. Yep. They've just left.
Right. So, how long do you think it will take them to take for them to get there? I'm losing it.
Maybe say half an hour or so to an hour.
That's not too long.
No. But the data doesn't update so every 10 minutes. So.
And I saw Hank just post an image in one of our rooms. We have a room on Discord, by the way, and on Skype. If you want to add those accounts, it's at it's Fool13 FOOL13 on Skype, and at extension 9094 on Discord. That gets through to me, and I can direct you to one of our chat rooms that we have online, and Hank has posted to one of those showing that 25 inches is now in the forecast from the Weather Prediction Center for the coast of Texas. So that's just crazy. I think the International Space Station might be over somewhere in the US Pacific Northwest. I'm not sure. I'm trying to make it out. But this is the live view from the International Space Station, and as soon as Harvey pops up on the image, if it does, we'll run that live. In the meantime, if you've got any questions for us, do send them in. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. And Craig, would you like to read out the watches and warnings again at the top of this hour for anyone new who's joined?
That's if my browser doesn't.
You can see them laid out graphically here on this image.
Oh, it's fine. Come on, it's freezing. I don't know whether
At this point, we all have to wait for Craig's software.
I don't know whether David's got the warnings.
David, you have them. Okay, I'm going to have to get them, aren't I? A storm surge warning is in effect for Port Mansfield to High Island, Texas. A storm surge watch is in effect for south of Port Mansfield, Texas to the mouth of the Rio Grande. A hurricane warning is in effect for Port Mansfield to Sargent, Texas. That was extended last hour. A tropical storm warning is in effect for north of Sargent to High Island, Texas, south of Port Mansfield to the mouth of the Rio Grande. A hurricane watch is in effect for that aforementioned area. A tropical storm watch is in effect for south of the mouth of the Rio Grande to Boca de Raton, Mexico. Rainfall amounts could reach 35 inches according to the National Hurricane Center in the middle and upper Texas coast through next Wednesday. That is 3 feet of rain possible between now and next Wednesday. What is showing up on the International Space Station now? I'm not sure what that is coming up in the distance. Still not sure where we are on that, but we do expect Harvey will pop up on that imagery in a few minutes. Someone wants to show us microwave imagery, Craig. I mean, you said there isn't any.
Yeah, one that's outdated.
Again, we say with the latest update that Harvey is now a Category 2. That is by our estimates. I mean, we are quite experienced at taking a look at these storms on the satellite imagery, considering that the recon planes aren't in there right now. And we think it has intensified and is intensifying right now. Officially, it's still 85 miles an hour. The National Hurricane Center will probably go higher with their next update, considering how the storm's looking right now. If I could give you a very quick estimate on what the again, as I say, we look out for the eye temperature, and if the eye temperature has warmed more, that is to say, oh, well, looking at the latest imagery, Craig, something really peculiar is happening on the infrared. In any case, the eye temperature is now -15, so it's gone up again slightly, but Craig, the big gap has shown up in a slot to the northeast of its eye wall, and I'm wondering what you think of that. and we will show it shortly after the ISS International Space Station has passed over the storm.
Seeing up the latest. Okay. Explore every nook and cranny.
I'm sorry?
Well, there is high convection going over the eye. That might blast imagery. Well,
Again, I'm not sure where we are on this imagery here, but we are heading towards Harvey somewhere. And I do wonder what's on the very periphery of the sphere in the distance there.
looking at that, I think that's just because the eye's trying to open up, maybe expand a little bit. Might be, but we'll see. But looking at the latest visible imagery, it looks like the eye has grown a little bit. So, we'll find out.
You said you believe the eye has grown?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's changed its shape. And that does appear to be Harvey appearing on the edge of the image now, on the International Space Station here. We could try and see a little bit further to the right.
I think is that the ISS flight starting to see Harvey right now.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? That appears to be Hurricane Harvey appearing on the International Space Station's imagery. A rare view of hurricanes that we get to see from space. I don't know how far above the Earth it actually is, but it's certainly much closer in than the satellites are, and you're going to get a decent view here, I think.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes they switch to other cameras and pan down. Hopefully we'll get to see that. And this is live, so we can see in real time right now what it does look like, even though the imagery that we have been looking at through the last hours has only been about 3 minutes old anyway.
Hoping I move that front camera as
David?
yeah, I've
Now, Craig,
looking at the ISS on site and the two computers, and I'm hoping they might move that forward.
I just want to point this out. We're looking at the screen right now. Craig, can you see that? You're looking. So the northern side of Harvey is the side closest to the camera, and you can see a gap, a significant gap there around the northeastern side of the eye wall. A gap in the cloud, and you can see its eye just about on the right hand side. And then a huge band extending to the north.
That'll probably be the current band, so it'll be influence. Aye.
But that certainly is Hurricane Harvey right now. Sorry?
Yeah.
If you're looking at that, it looks like the gap. It looks as if it's closed as it gets closer, but that could just be the way the sun's going off.
I don't think you'll see anything change whilst we're watching. It's such a short amount of time. But it does appear to me that another flare-up occurring on the northern side there in relation to... But do you think that northeastern eye wall is still looking a little frail?
We need the ISS to pan the camera down, which he should do soon.
Well, now we get to look at the southeastern edge, which doesn't look great. I don't know whether the camera will change on this or not. I would hope so, but maybe it won't. But at least we got to see some of Harvey there, at least from one angle.
They should pan the camera down.
I was looking at something else and caught my eye, so hopefully they'll move the camera.
And then we continue to move towards the southeast now on the International Space Station, heading away, just about heading right over Hurricane Harvey right now. I don't think they're going to change the camera. Such a shame.
That'll be right.
Looking at the, I'm gonna have to resort to Go 16. I think it's not really a gap because there's still cloud tops. I think it's just because there's a high surge of convection. Might be one of the reasons. But I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, so there it goes. Unfortunately, we don't get the second view, but at least we got the first view of it. And who needs the International Space Station when you've got the lovely Go 16 imagery? But it is very interesting to see it pass over. Let's get, in fact, just a minute until we get the latest from Go 16 imagery right now, as I continue to work with the properties that I'm working with here. It's so difficult doing technical things. I believe we have it now. Over there. Make it over here. There's the latest imagery again of the visible of Go 16 and Hurricane Harvey, and as I pointed out, Craig, real blow up occurring in the northern eye wall, and definitely noted here. And you might just be right with the slot there. I might not call it a dry slot, but a slot nonetheless, closing up. People do want to see water vapor imagery apparently.
Yeah, there is pretty much no dry air going
Really?
Harvey. Yeah, all the dry air is being held over Mexico, and that's getting nowhere near.
Could you show us? In fact, I might be able to get it here. Let's just see if we can switch one of our views. That was an earlier infrared view. Let's take a look at the latest water vapor now. There's what's happening. So no, nothing really.
Pretty much non-existent dry air, which is not good because that means that Harvey can continue strengthening.
Let's see if we can get the latest eye temperature. It was -15 at the last update. The closer it gets to 0, the stronger this storm is. At the moment, it appears that that has decreased ever so slightly to -17. So this might be a leveling off, but those cloud tops are getting really serious on the northern side. I think the highest cloud tops we've seen from Harvey since it became a tropical storm again, really. And we could be looking at Category 3 very soon, but even on the NOAA floaters, Craig, it's becoming more apparent that it could be heading towards sort of the Texas-Mexico border.
From what I was seeing there in that last image, it looks like it started going back on that northwesterly track.
Let's see if we can get the view from Texas again. Hold on.
This thing could be completely south of what the NHC thought.
Let's see if we've got it here. Here we are with the latest. This is as seen from the coast of Texas and how close Harvey is drawing now. I'm not sure, Craig. I think that the cloud tops, well, it's hard to tell. It's slowed down for sure. It might have stalled.
If it has, God, damn it. Wow. We'll never know. But looking at the lower tropical floaters, it looks like it had a little quick jog to the west, but it could be one of them ones. I guess we'll have to know. Well, we'll find out soon enough. But I'd like to hope. Let's go to 16 update. But,
Indeed. So there we are. Not much to say anymore, is there?
Not really.
Only it continues to look stronger, and they can't not put this to Category 2 at the next update.
No. And it looks like the eye's clearing out again in the last frame, and it's hard to tell.
David, what are your thoughts? I'm just looking at the National Weather Centre latest chart. I've got it on the screen, and how the picture has changed. It's...
Well, you could talk about that whilst I take a short break over here for a moment or two. just to make sure that David and Craig are aware that I won't be here to pick up for them where they leave off.
Open mic time, is it?
Pretty much.
So it looks like the kind of uncertainty has edged further south into Mexico, down towards Tampico, although the Monterey is now outside the circle, but south of Dallas, Waco, Austin, Bryan, Houston. So Houston's in the cone. So it looks like it's going to. Craig, would you agree that it will impact Corpus Christi? Do you reckon it might cross the coast to the north of Corpus Christi up towards Galveston?
Very hard to tell. Very, very hard.
Yeah.
But there is a chance that it might. There's a chance that it might not. But I'm willing to find out. So that's.
And we know that. Well, Galveston's that city that it always gets the floods. I remember last year, we know that people are filling up their cars in the Houston region.
Let's bring up again that this is the latest here as the storm continues to move westward. You know, there's got to be an upgrade on the way from the National Hurricane Center. Their next update will be, unless something drastically changes, as they sometimes put out intermediate updates, intermediate updates. And we always look out because updates can come up at any time. And in fact, I've just actually got a chart update for this screen here. The National Hurricane Center have updated their chart, their rainfall chart, and it now looks like this. Look at that. So in the purple area now, you can see another large swathe now that's under 20 plus inches according to their predictions, and you can see the New Orleans area now up to 6 inches, between 6 and 10 inches expected there, and for large parts of Louisiana even, and some parts of Louisiana could get 15 inches as well. But along that whole Bend region of Texas there, it's huge amounts of rainfall.
Very large amounts. Possibly record flooding could be on the way. I'm not sure whether record could be closed.
And here's another perspective from David from the National
Weather Service. Yeah, rainfall potentially devastating flood threat. And Nathan, looks like Houston could get up to 20 inches.
Yeah, definitely possible. And we're always using Allison as the example. This is probably an extreme version of Allison even, you know. I mean, rainfall maybe not as much by a small amount, but you've still got the storm surge and the winds, which are all going to be way more than Allison, and possible tornadoes, and the rip currents. And I would say overall this storm is going to be more dangerous than Allison was, and it got retired. But Craig, we're again looking at the visible imagery all the time. It's updated pretty much every minute, and it is mesmerizing. What do you think now? That blowing up of convection on the northwestern side of the storm it almost looks like a steam train blowing up all that steam and smoke.
Not quite literally. But if that surge is not high, it's really.
And here's another view on the Navy imagery, David.
Yeah, so I'm just having a look at various features on that site. Looking at the microwave one, or looking forward, but I'm just wondering what size would the eye be, Craig? Would you like to have a guess?
I'm going with a recent.
15 miles?
That would probably be my safest bet.
Something like 15 miles.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because it keeps expanding and it keeps shrinking. That's maybe because it keeps shrinking.
We can barely hear you, by the way, Craig. I'll speak up a little. That is a sort of a little wind chart thing there. It's not particularly descriptive.
Yeah.
All right.
Image Devon just posted one of the Discord rooms. Saying that one of the Dvorak images barely supports Cat 3.
So Devon might. I mean, I didn't see that, but Devon suggesting to you that it may be a Category 3. Devon, one of our other members, by the way. Oh yes, I see it. Yes, Devon suggests that this might be a Category 3 storm.
Yes.
So you know, it goes to show that we may be even being conservative with the number that we put at the top of the hour, which we said we believe now that the storm is 100 miles an hour, around 972 millibars. The National Hurricane Center still have 85 miles per hour, and that is official right now. They're waiting for more information from the recon planes.
That's the image we barely supported Cat 3. My goodness. Impressive. Let's have a look at recon.
Please give us an update on that.
Should be near the storm down there. Nope, they're not. Grief. What's that?
It's gotten really quiet in this room, by the way. We started with about 6 people this evening. Everyone's had to go. Indeed, Isaac was one of our members who was in Corpus Christi at the beginning of our show. He literally evacuated on air. It's the first time any one of our members has had to evacuate live on air. But this is a real situation and real people being affected, and will be affected for certain into tomorrow. Certainly by lunchtime you'll be seeing tropical storm force winds reaching the coast of Texas, and as we said a few hours ago, if you're not completely prepared for this storm and the worst case scenario, which could well be a Category 4 on your doorstep, if you're not prepared for that, then you need to be prepared by first light tomorrow. And if you're evacuating, you ought to have gone. David, do you have the list of evacuations again? 1-2 people asking about that. We did read them out an hour or 2 ago. There are several areas that have mandatory evacuations, even, aren't there?
Yes.
Corpus Christi, where Isaac was, is under, as far as I know, still under a voluntary evacuation. But I expect that could be mandatory for some people soon. There are several out there already, but I'm just not sure exactly where. But we did have the full list earlier. You want to keep that close to hand, David?
Yes, I'm looking for it. It was on the Twitter. I'm just seeing what other
and whilst we continue
to
wait, let's see if we can get some radar imagery actually from Brownsville, which is still the closest satellite site. Let's see what we've got. There it is again. So Craig, I don't know if you've been looking at the radar recently, but in those last few frames, last 15-20 minutes or so, there's been a big orange band around the eye, significant eye wall there, which has been moving around from northwest to southwest now of the eye in those latest frames, and the significant amounts of rainfall are approaching, but not too much reaching land just yet, South Texas.
Nathan, 2 counties have ordered mandatory evacuations. Pazoria County officials ordered evacuation of the Gulf side of the infracoastal waterway, including the coastal communities of Treasure Island, Surfside Beach, Quintana, Matagorda. County officials have ordered the Gulf side of Farm Roads 521, 2611, Texas 35 business evacuated, including Padasios, Matagorda, Cottage Port.
He's trying.
I know, I'm trying. Chinquapin, Sergeant, the coastal towns of Arraignces Pass.
Something like that. You're almost incoherent now, though,
and
unfortunately.
Corpus Christi.
Corpus Christi, you got that one.
Yeah. And Houston Airport still we expect to stay open after Hurricane Harvey hits South Texas, but airlines are encouraging customers to change travel plans. United Southwest American have offered waivers for customers scheduled to fly to, from, or through Houston and other Texas cities from Friday through Sunday.
Indeed. And if you want to tell us about what's going on in your neck of the woods as well, whilst we're here, of course, you can.
Yes.
Fir Tree Pool says gas prices already rising.
Somebody in the comments wanted us to go on about packing for a minute.
Well, you could, if you've got the screen share for it. I haven't got anything to show right now, unfortunately, with regards to Picard. Picard did form around 2 or 3 hours ago now. 2 hours ago, in the Western Pacific, just off the coast of the Philippines. So we do have 2 active named storms, unless you want to count Kenneth. But there is the latest threat, and that could be another typhoon for the Hong Kong region, even when we just had one.
And what's left of that still going?
Hato, yes.
Interesting. Oh, the peak intensity was up from 75 to 80.
That's interesting. So they think that Picard reach 80 miles an hour now. We'll get some more visible imagery of Harvey shortly. But in the meantime, we'll just, again, there is the latest situation with the warnings, hurricane warnings in effect for a large chunk of the coast. Hurricane warning for Port Mansfield to Sargent, Texas. A tropical storm warning for north of Sargent to High Island, Texas. South of Port Mansfield, Texas to the mouth of the Rio Grande. Let's see if we could possibly take us back to the visible imagery. Light slowly fading over there, of course, but still a bit of time. And Craig, massive convective burst on the western side. It's almost drowning out the eye, almost completely.
If you look at the last few images there, you can see the circulation really ramping up there. So the eye can actually re-emerge through that, so that's even higher cloud top.
Yeah, this is one of the dangers that we look at. You know, the cloud tops increasing, especially on the western side, which has always been the strongest, and the eye underneath that may well be continuing to at least maintain its base and its structure, and it could spring a surprise on you, and in a few hours or by tomorrow morning you could be looking at a well-defined stadium effect eye like one of the classics. Let's hope not. And but there is always that possibility, and models have been going crazy for this for days on end, saying that it would become a category 4 or 5. Don't think it will become a category 5, but anything is possible. But at the moment, Craig, do you think that's still moving west-northwest?
Hard to tell, but it might be. Very hard to tell.
Let me see if I can get a longer range loop on that. and I'll see what I can do on that.
This thing does continue. You could easily see it maybe a major hurricane by tomorrow. They keep going.
Yeah, well, Devon thinks it's a major hurricane already.
It could easily be.
I believe we have got a longer range. This is the last 2 hours. So this is last 2 hours of 1 minute visible imagery of Hurricane Harvey. Craig, looking at that,
You're putting on a stream to catch up.
anything that you can garner from that imagery? Clearly that first part, the storm moves west, and then all of a sudden all of that massive burst of convective activity happens. There it is beginning, you see that? It begins sort of around the northern edge of the eye and goes around, all around the western side, sort of inflamed with the... There it is again, with the explosion of cloud tops there.
But yeah, that could be one of them ones that wraps around the eye completely. You never know.
Well, it's almost done so anyway, hasn't it?
But,
Crazy.
Really interesting. Really is.
Alright, yeah, people saying San Antonio, the stores are packed for people getting ready. Pearland, all stores are almost out of food. Just see if there's anything else out there as well. Do tag us if you've got any particular questions for us. But yeah, at the moment we're looking at what is in all likelihood a category 2 storm at the least. We're being, we believe, conservative with the findings at the top of the hour that it had 100-mile-an-hour winds and a pressure of around 972 millibars, and we won't know for sure how strong this storm is now until recon come in, and I think we've been conservative. Craig, where are recon now?
They should just be about to leave, left in New Orleans and deep into the Gulf of Mexico by now.
Yeah.
Not near the storm yet, but they're getting there.
So again, we'll be waiting a while for all that to occur. We'll also be monitoring the National Hurricane Center to see if they issue any sneaky updates. It doesn't look like they will. The next scheduled update will be at 7 PM Central Time, which is in just over an hour. Just to remind you, if you weren't aware, a storm surge warning is in effect for Port Mansfield to High Island, Texas. A storm surge watch south of Port Mansfield, Texas to the mouth of the Rio Grande. A hurricane warning for Port Mansfield to Sargent, Texas. A tropical storm warning for north of Sargent to High Island, Texas, and south of Port Mansfield to the mouth of the Rio Grande. A hurricane watch for that same location. A tropical storm watch for south of the mouth of the Rio Grande to Boca de Raton, Mexico. Now, I think what will be happening with our stream, by the way, we'll be here for probably another hour after the end of this hour before we have to call it a night here. Though we will have people on hand to update, to give you regular updates on the Force 13 channel. So do stay up to date on there. We'll be back again with more updates tomorrow, though I'm not sure. Live updates, that is, but I'm not sure that I'll be available here until later in the evening, unfortunately, due to my schedule really unfortunately not aligning very well. But we will have other members from our team putting out updates throughout the many hours that people will have to endure along the coast of central Texas over the next few days, as it would appear. Craig, have we decided that this thing's moving back northwest yet? Oh wow, hold on a minute.
Could be.
Now, something I got to tell you, the eye temperature is now +2 Celsius.
That's concerning.
The eye temperature is now +2 and a maximum eye wall temperature of -67. That, my friends, is quite serious, and I think we're looking at a major hurricane very, very soon. That is quite alarming. This is pretty much the same thing that gave Gert Category 3 status in our analysis when it intensified briefly in the Atlantic. This is potentially big here, and if it keeps looking like that for an hour or two, we're definitely looking at a Category 3.
Yeah.
Even if it isn't official. And just last again, yeah, just 5 minutes ago it was -4 and now it's +1. That's just ridiculous. So the eye is still becoming better defined despite all of those cloud tops really blowing up on the northwestern side, as you'll see again as soon as it shows up on the screen. Here it is. So again, you see the latest frames there towards the end of that loop, those cloud tops really blowing up, but underneath that eye is still there and intensifying and deepening. And you could be looking at pressures probably, you reckon it might be in the 960s now, Craig?
I think it could be.
Wow. That's impressive.
Especially
Impressive
with the
intensification there.
That's serious.
Crazy. David, any thoughts? We're bamboozled here.
I'm trying to find updated information for you. It's slow on the social media.
Yeah, well, everyone's busy preparing, aren't they?
Oh yes, well that is the key, and evacuate, because the flooding is going to be major, and the road networks are going to be absolute chaos.
I assume everyone has an idea whether they're in a flood-prone area or not, or a place that would, in a worst-case scenario, maybe get flooded. I mean, now is the time, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. If you're gonna evacuate, you better evacuate now. It's really too late.
And emergency services, if you get stranded in the flood, they're going to find it hard to rescue people too. So I'll be saying, if you can, get out.
Yeah.
To be honest, this storm is no longer a slouch. The storm means business, and it's flexing its muscles.
I'm looking at something pretty odd. Well,
and that is?
Well, the numbers just don't really add up.
What's that?
I am back.
That's the sound of Marcel. Basically, we don't know where the storm is. It appears to me to have gone east again on my numbers now. I must have done the numbers wrong last time. But I think now we're looking at sort of west-northwest, maybe towards northwest again. So, you know, as I said earlier in the stream, we were talking about the storm perhaps veering off to the west a little bit, but never be certain that that's what's going to happen for sure, because it could still move back again quite easily, and that might be happening right now. What it might do is, for those people living further east, it might be a little bit better, but it probably won't make too much difference in the grand scheme of things, given how it didn't move very much. Marcel, what are your thoughts right now?
What happened with Harvey?
Well, have you been looking? There's been a massive flare-up around the storm, and the eye temperature is now +2 Celsius, and the cloud tops are really blowing up on the western side. So, do you have any input on that?
I think this is a high-end Cat 2 at least.
And looking at the latest imagery, Craig, right now, which we will be able to show you again shortly as I continue to work on what numbers we're going to show up at the top of the next hour.
Nathan,
the cloud tops have completely engulfed the storm.
Oh yeah, this is a complete shoot. And that's
David?
Sorry, Craig, I just want to bring this in. Amazing rotating supercell in Harvey's northwest eye wall. These tall convective
Yeah, this
bursts
is-
are often seen during rapid intensification. And that was put out by Levi Cow and Tropical Tidbits, Nathan.
Well, this is what is happening right now, and it does indeed, and it's been going on for some time, and it's ominous to say the least.
Yes.
But
How long is this trend going to continue?
well, yes, as to its direction, though, we're still sort of in the dark as to exactly which direction it's going in.
Would I be right to say that it's behaving like it was 24 hours ago?
No, it's behaving like Debbie. Debbie
Oh,
was a
Debbie.
significant cyclone that hit Australia earlier
Yes.
this
especially
year,
my
back in
HQ.
March.
Yeah.
Craig, one of the
Actually,
commenters says the HMON model is predicting this to be 913 millibars, I'm assuming, in 24 hours.
Let's have a look and confirm that for you.
And in support to what I saw yesterday. And I mentioned probably around
And I'm looking
9:30.
I'm looking at some maybe some. I've got to say, actually, HWRF isn't keen on it. They think it's only going to peak at 90 miles per hour, which we've already overstated with our 100 mile an hour estimate.
HWRF, very valid.
Meanwhile, the HMON thinks it's going to be 140 miles per hour at peak. Now, you wouldn't get a 913 millibar pressure from a 140 mile an hour storm, unless I'm
What
looking.
wind speed?
Unless I'm looking at an
What do
old
you
run
need?
or something. Well, in the Atlantic, I don't think there's ever been a Category 4 at 913 millibars. Maybe just one, actually.
Just to let you know, Nathan, HMO now says a 950.
Or possibly two, Wilma and Carla, I think. But it's very rare. Most of them are Category 5 at that intensity. But that's speculative, again.
Yeah. HMON says at the end of the run, in 30 hours time, it says a 950 millibar Cat 5 landfall
Oh, God.
in Texas.
Well, it's not outside the realms of possibility.
If it keeps this up, anything's possible. That's a sad thing. So,
Let's get the latest radar imagery, if it's available right now. There it is. And it looks very interesting, Craig, and the latest images showing that there could well be the beginnings of another eye wall on the western side. Maybe that's just a trick on the radar, but are you looking at the radar?
yeah, not sure. That's...
Electric Blue just asked a very apt question. Could it be possible for the supercell on the western side to cut off the eye wall completely and form a small eye, theoretically? Not quite what we're thinking, but
No.
you know, looking at that imagery, it might just be the radar that's one eye wall still, but I don't know. Yeah, I think it's still one eye wall there.
If that was two eyeballs, you wouldn't see that area of rain through the main eye.
Right, but again, Craig, you can see the movement there. Looks like a bit of a bump to the north, and it looks like it's back west again.
It's hard to tell on the live stream, but very difficult to tell.
All right.
Not saying I don't know where it's going, but it's hard to tell though. It really is.
I think this is high in Cat 2.
Interesting. Let's go back to the latest imagery from the Texas perspective here, and you can see again that huge blowing up of the eye. That's just crazy. The western eye wall, that's just never seen such a flamboyant explosion of convection
And the flying
in the Atlantic anyway.
Another Another recon plane has gone out from off.
Craig, can you give us any estimate of when it's expected to be in the storm?
They should be closing in on it right now.
Right now?
Should be in, and there's a wreck closer.
Do we know its position?
Just have a look. The end of the road.
Unfortunately, Craig has to be quiet at this time of night. It's quite late over here in the UK.
Oh, you need to get no?
Yes, indeed, but I can afford not to be quiet whilst I present the show. But in any case, there's another view again, the centralised view of Harvey, and it just it's remarkable. The development of that eye wall, and you can even see the clouds of the western eye wall casting a shadow on the clouds of the eastern eye wall. The difference is so contrary.
Looking at Harvey right now,
And you got no chance of seeing the eye now. Sorry, Craig.
Yeah, but looking at the Harvey right now, there is another massive blow of a convection going on to the eastern side.
A little bit.
Nathan, Surfside Beach to receive 69 feet storm surge as of now. I'm still waiting to see what the tides are for the next 4 days. And a question for one of our viewers: how long will you be streaming for?
Well, as detailed earlier, we intend to finish the stream at the end of the next hour. We have been here since 6 PM UTC, so we'll have done a whole 6 hours with you. Though, of course, there will be regular updates throughout the evening, probably courtesy of David or anyone else on the team.
Yeah, I'll be here.
With regular updates whilst I'm not here. Unfortunately, my prior planned commitments are actually getting in the way of the coverage tomorrow and Saturday, so that's very unfortunate, because I'm certainly passionate to deliver what news is needed to be delivered, whatever is required. And indeed, with a system like this impacting the coast, potentially becoming the first major hurricane landfall in the United States, contiguous United States, since 2005, the longest such drought in US history, because the last drought of this length ended in 1775. It is really important that everything that everyone needs to know gets out, because the US hasn't had anything like this for a while. David?
Central pressure. How
Yeah, well, it's a guess, isn't it, at this point?
low could it drop?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, how long's a piece of string, I guess?
True.
I mean,
But with
yeah.
the
The models
Sorry,
say all sorts of
Nathan.
things. One model said 880.
Yes, 880.
We can discount that quite safely, I think.
Come on.
and another one 913. But my position for our viewers, and even here over, I've held this position for over a decade now, and we provide the information, we relay the official sources information, and I always mention to people, you've got to apply caution when viewing information other than the official sources.
Well, indeed. So, to reiterate, a storm surge warning is in effect for Port Mansfield, High Island, Texas. A storm surge watch for south of Port Mansfield to the mouth of the Rio Grande. A hurricane warning for Port Mansfield to Sargent, Texas. A tropical storm warning for north of Sargent to High Island, Texas. South of Port Mansfield, Texas to the mouth of the Rio Grande. A hurricane watch for south of Port Mansfield to the mouth of the Rio Grande. And a tropical storm watch for south of the mouth of the Rio Grande to Boca de Raton, Mexico. We'll have more on Harvey for another hour after this short break. We're delivering more information, and just about at the end of that hour we might get the National Hurricane Centre's latest update. But that is the last hour that we intend to run live tonight, and we will have more tomorrow, and plenty more in between on our social mediums and also on the channel. So do subscribe, at least for the short time we have Harvey. Won't force you to. That's all until a few minutes time. Stay tuned. Coverage continues in a moment. You can follow Force 13's outlets, the website force13.co.uk, at your service at any time. You can also find us on YouTube, the channel, search Force 13, all in text, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find us on Facebook at Force 13, and it's at Force 13 on Twitter. That's the handle to contact us there. You can also add Fool13 on Skype, that's FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord for tropical weather chat.